US and Iran held indirect nuclear talks in Muscat, Oman on February 6, 2026. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi led the Iranian delegation and described the session as a very good start and positive. He stated the discussions focused exclusively on the nuclear program and sanctions relief. Araghchi emphasized that negotiations require a calm atmosphere without US threats or pressure, adding that any dialogue must refrain from such actions to continue. He noted a climate of mistrust due to past US strikes on Iranian nuclear sites in June 2025. Araghchi also mentioned a brief handshake with the US delegation despite the indirect format. Both sides agreed to resume discussions after consulting leaders in Washington and Tehran, with the next round expected soon. No agreements were reached on uranium enrichment, ballistic missiles, proxy support, or human rights. Iran's position remains firm. Araghchi stated Iran will not accept zero uranium enrichment or move its stockpiles abroad. He declared ballistic missiles never negotiable as they are a defensive issue. Iran insists talks cover only the nuclear file and lifting sanctions, rejecting broader US demands on missiles, support for groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis, or human rights. Araghchi indicated Iran could show flexibility on enrichment levels but not elimination. Iranian officials prioritize sanctions relief to ease economic strain. Araghchi reiterated that US threats contradict Washington's desire for negotiations, warning they undermine the process. Trump described the talks as very good and ongoing, suggesting they could lead to positive results if Iran meets US demands. However, earlier on, Trump also had issued direct warnings. In an NBC interview aired February 4th to 5th, 2026, he said Ayatollah Khamenei should be very worried and the US is ready for very bad things or very steep consequences if no deal emerges. He referenced past US strikes that obliterated Iranian nuclear sites and claimed Iran is building a new secret facility. US military aircraft and forces continue deploying to the Middle East. The USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group arrived January 26, 2026, with guided missile destroyers F/A-18E Super Hornets, F-35C fighters, EA-18G Growlers, and surveillance planes. Over 35 F-15E Strike Eagles deployed to Jordan's Muwafaq Salti airbase in mid-January. Additional A-10C ground attack aircraft, MQ-9 Reaper drones, and MH-60 helicopters are at bases in Jordan and Oman. KC-135 tankers surged to Al Udeid in Qatar for refueling support. THAAD and Patriot missile defenses were added to UAE and Qatar sites. Surveillance flights by P-8 Poseidon, E-3G Sentry and MQ-4C Triton continue over the Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. This buildup, the largest since June 2025 strikes, aims to deter Iran and prepare for contingencies. The US State Department issued a security alert February 5th to 6th, 2026, urging all US citizens to leave Iran now. It cites risks of terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, and arbitrary detention. Citizens should expect internet outages, plan alternative communications, and depart by land to Armenia or Turkey if safe. Dual nationals must exit on Iranian passports, as Iran does not recognize dual citizenship. The advisory notes no US embassy in Iran and limited consular help through Switzerland. Airlines have cancelled flights, and borders to Afghanistan, Iraq, and Pakistan-Iran areas are unsafe. Iran maintains threats of retaliation. Khamenei warned any US attack would trigger a regional war. Officials stated Iran could strike US bases, Israel, or shipping in the Strait of Hormuz using missiles, drones, or proxies like the Houthis and Hezbollah. IRGC commanders emphasized readiness with fingers on the trigger. Iranian commanders stated they remain highly prepared for a regional-scale war. On February 4, 2026, the IRGC conducted a test launch of a top ballistic missile. Talks proceed despite threats because both sides seek to avoid full war. 9 Middle Eastern countries lobbied for dialogue to prevent escalation that could disrupt oil flows and regional stability. The US uses maximum pressure, diplomacy paired with sanctions and military presence, to push concessions. Iran engages to ease economic strain from sanctions while projecting strength. Recent incidents like US drone shootdowns and tanker chases highlight miscalculation risks, making talks a way to de-escalate. Hours after the Oman talks ended, the US announced new sanctions on 15 entities and 14 vessels involved in Iran's shadow fleet oil trade. The Treasury and State Departments said the action targets companies and ships that help Iran sell oil illegally and generate revenue for the IRGC and proxy groups. What may happen next? Progress toward an interim deal, like Iran capping enrichment for partial sanctions relief, easing tensions, stalemate with ongoing talks but no resolution, sustaining sanctions, build-up and proxy activities, escalation if demands fail, leading to US or Israeli strikes on nuclear sites, Iranian retaliation closing the strait, affecting 20% global oil, regional involvement, oil prices spiking to $150 plus per barrel, and broader conflict drawing Russia or China. Current status: no breakthrough on core issues. Both sides return to their capitals for review. Next round expected soon. Oil markets rose slightly after Trump's latest comments, reflecting ongoing nervousness. The situation remains high risk. Positive language from the talks coexists with active military buildup, fresh sanctions, and public threats from the US president and Iranian leaders.